Welcome to episode 5 of the Beginner Guide series. Last episode we made our first early game builds with the Hag and the Rhino, and we cleared our way to Uranus where we found some interesting drones to investigate. I'm Tipsy, and today we'll be continuing our Beginner Guide series. Just like before, this episode is split into chapters, so feel free to jump around as needed. And in today's episode we will be covering the following topics as seen here, so let's just get into it. At this point you have probably filled up your Warframe or weapon slots and need to buy some more. This is where our beginner platinum comes into play, as we can actually begin using this if you haven't already used it. You will also be able to earn some weapon and Warframe slots through the Nightwave, as they're usually given out as rewards for reaching certain ranks with Nora's current volume, also known as the Nightwave. Of course, it is also possible to sell your weapons or frames, but I do not recommend selling your Warframes just yet, because there's a later game mechanic that actually requires the regular Warframe version of the frame, so you will need to keep them safe for now. And as for weapons, you can definitely sell some if you want to, but keep in mind that certain weapons can be hard and annoying to acquire again, and certain ones are actually used for crafting materials for other weapons, so before selling you have to make sure that it has been maxed out for mastery XP, that it also isn't used for other weapons later on in the game, and it actually is obtainable again and not extremely hard to get. And some weapons you can quick sell at this point would include the MK weapons, the Braton, the Syracuse and the Alacto, which are basically weapons you can buy with credits without needing to craft them. So these are just some quick MR fodder you can use, and you can just sell them without any issue. But hey, if you're a hoarder like me and don't want to say goodbye to anything in your inventory, we will probably need to farm some platinum to get ourselves those extra slots we need. So let's go over how to do that in the next chapter. So if you're looking to farm some quick platinum, whatever the Warframe slots or weapon slots, or maybe a cosmetic you got your eye on, so let's go over the Prime Platinum Farm, which is a simple and early game method to earn some quick platinum, and we kind of have already touched on this on earlier parts of this series, so now let's just fully break it down and how it works. First, you need relics to run. As mentioned before, the habit mission in the Void rewards you with relics basically every minute, so that's a super quick way to stock up. You could also run the Spear mission on Mars if you still haven't gotten Hell's Chamber, since the mission can drop Liv and Meso relics on top, and there's also a chance for getting some useful mods. There's also the Io on Jupiter or Helene on Saturn, where you can level up weapons or frames while farming relics at the same time. That is 2 birds with 1 stone. So start out with just farming some relics, and once you have gotten your relic, it is time to run the Fissure missions to crack them open and get your prime parts. And in these Fissure missions you want to complete the objective while gathering the 10 reactants to be able to get a pick at a prime part when extracting. And one thing I want to mention here too is there's actually a third-party tool called Alaka Frame that can show you which prime drops at the end of the mission are worth the most platinum, or whatever you already own them. It is a super helpful tool of course, but there's something really important to keep in mind, and that is Digital Extreme doesn't officially support or endorse this. And as you see here, it is a download at your own risk, so just something to keep in mind, that this is a possibility you could do, but it is not needed. Just something important to keep in mind. But back on track, once you start running these Fissure missions and collecting prime parts, you should be ready to start trading for platinum. Now that we know how to gather the item worth a little bit of plat, it is time to sell those items to other players to actually make that platinum. There's a few ways to do this, and here are some things you need to keep in mind when trading in Warframe. First up, I am assuming everyone here is above Master Rank 2, as it is required to be at least MR2 to be able to trade in Warframe. You will also need to enable 2-factor authentication on your Warframe account. Just head over to the official website and activate it under the account management. Once that is done, you are ready to start trading. One of the first things is do not use the in-game trading tab unless you actually know what you're doing and understand the item's value. It is possible to find good deals in trade chat of course, but most of the time you'll probably end up being the one being scammed for items. So instead of using the in-game trade chat, we will personally be using the Warframe.market website, which has basically become the main hub for trading in Warframe. Here you can buy and sell items, set up listings and browse offers from other players. And if you want a full breakdown on how to set up your account and create listings and everything on Warframe.market, I got a separate video that goes into all of that, so we won't be covering it fully here, but feel free to check that video out if you want a more in-depth trading tutorial. Now that you have gotten your Warframe.market open, it is time to sell the prime parts you got from earlier. In game you can open up your inventory and then go to the prime parts tab, and you will be able to see every prime part you have in your inventory. And then on Warframe.market just search for the items you have, and you will be able to find players that are trading these items currently. And under the buy orders tab you will be able to see a list of players that are looking to buy this item. And then you can click on the sell button to copy a pre-written message, then just paste it in game to whisper the person. And if you're playing on a console and can't copy paste, you'll just have to manually whisper the player with /w player name and then the item and price. It is a bit tedious, but that is just how it is. And once you have sent out your whisper, after a little bit of time, usually the buyer will then invite you to their squad and then take you to their dojo dojo where the trading post is located. Once in the dojo, you will head to the trading post, which we covered a little bit in our clan section of episode 2 of the beginner guide series. At this post, you can then select the player you're trading with, and they need to be in the same instance or dojo as you to actually be able to start the trade. Once in the trading window, you will then place the prime item you're selling, and then the buyer will then add the platinum they are purchasing it for. Once both sides confirm, boom, you have then just made platinum without spending any real life money. And that is actually how simple it is. It depends on the price of the prime part, of course, to how much platinum you're getting and how fast you're getting it. And overall, this is a simple and easy way to earn platinum early on in Warframe. But one important thing to remember is you actually have a limited number of daily trades based on your mastery rank. So for example, a mastery rank 5 player will only be able to do 5 trades per day, and this resets every day at midnight GMT time. And this is also the reason selling multiple items or sets are in favor, as you can trade up to 6 items per trade. And that is how simple it is to trade and make platinum in Warframe early on. Of course, there is other methods beside farming prime parts, but this is one of the fastest and easiest ones to understand when starting out. Now to something a little bit different. Every now and then DE drops some random codes that can be used to get free loot in Warframe, so let's quickly go over how to redeem them and grab yourself some freebies. At the time of recording this video, you can actually get a free weapon called the Dual Karmas, which comes with a built-in Oricon Catalyst or the Potato, and I think it might even come with a weapon slot as well. On top of that, you also get a free color palette that you can use to customize your Warframes and weapons. And all you have to do to redeem these codes is go to the market in-game, and then in the bottom right corner, click the redeem code button and then type in Techrod Mantics as you see here, and then you will be able to get the Dual Karmas and the Lotus color scheme sent to your inventory. There's also a bunch of content creators with their own codes that actually give you a glyph which you can use to change your profile picture in-game. Definitely worth checking out if you want to change out your profile pictures. That being said, codes do change every now and then, so if you're watching this video later on, just do a quick Google search for Warframe promo codes and there should be some sites with an updated list with all of the active codes. And hey, if you're watching this video and the code still works, let me know down in the comment, and if it doesn't, it might have been replaced with a new one. DE likes to drop these codes from time to time, so there's usually something fresh to claim. And now let's have a look at some mods which are super important to get early on, especially if you're starting to build towards stronger loadouts, so let's quickly go over a few key ones and where to get them. First off is the Deimos bounty ones, which are a great place to start. They have a chance to drop Blood Rush, Weeping Wounds and even Condition Overload, which are 3 of the most valuable melee mods in the game, especially for endgame melee builds. If you enjoy melee combat in Warframe, I highly recommend farming for these. Blood Rush can be found in the level 30 to 40 bounty, while Weeping Wounds can be found in the level 15 to 25 bounty. And the Condition Overload can then be dropped from certain enemies you encounter in these bounties. If the bounties don't currently have the Blood Rush or Weeping Wounds, just wait for the timer to run down, as it will refresh the bounties, which changes the bounty rewards as they work kind of like rotations in Warframe. And the level 30 to 40 bounty might be a little too hard right now, but we will get back to this at a later point. Then there's also the Vigilante mods from Cetus bounties, can also be quite useful, such as the Vigilante armaments we got for our heck. And over on Orb Vallis, you can then grab some companion focused mods from these bounties. They aren't mandatory, but definitely worth picking up if you're experimenting with companions and robotic pets. So yeah, doing bounties regularly is a great way to slowly build up your mod collection, especially if you haven't acquired many of these mods yet. We also talked about Nightmare Mission in a previous episode, where we can get mods like Chilling Reload and Blaze, but there's a bunch of other powerful Nightmare mods, and I highly suggest actually running a few Nightmare missions here and there over time, so you can build up a really solid arsenal of niche and powerful mods. And now here's something we haven't gone over yet, called the Corrupted mods. These mods comes with a powerful buff to one stat, but also a debuff to another. They are amazing for min-maxing your builds and sacrificing one stat in exchange for a massive boost somewhere else. There's quite a few of these mods, and they are also worth a good amount of platinum if you want to sell off duplicates for a bit of profit while farming for these. To get started farming Corrupted mods, first you will have to head to a clan dojo, where you will be able to go into the Oricon lab and actually buy some of the Dragon keys. These are 4 different infinite blueprints, and you will actually be able to just craft as many of these keys as you need in your foundry. The keys are the Decaying, the Bleeding, the Extinguished and the Hobbled, and I highly recommend getting all 4 of these blueprints. These keys apply a debuff to your Warframe when equipped into a gear wheel, but they are required to unlock the Oricon vaults in the missions. So you actually have to craft all of the keys and then equip them onto your frame and then take them into certain missions to actually be able to open a special vault. When running solo, I recommend equipping all 4 keys, so you guarantee you will be able to open any vault you find in a squad. You could split the keys among players to avoid heavy penalties, but this usually requires a pre-made squad, so just keep that in mind. I also recommend running Rhino or Tanky frame if you're still early on to have an easier time actually farming these missions. Now that you have the keys equipped, you will just have to head into Deimos and run missions like Horrent, a capture mission, or Pelagius, an extermination mission, as these missions are a little bit quicker, so I recommend those two. Once inside the mission, explore the map and look out for the Orichan Vault door. Only one key will open the door and it is randomly chosen per mission, so having all 4 keys is the best odds. Once you unlock the vault inside the mission, you will receive one random corrupted mod once you extract from the mission. It is a pretty easy farm and many of these mods are build defining, so it totally is worth collecting and selling duplicates to make you a nice profit while farming too. Also remember to unequip your dragon keys once you're done farming for corrupted mods, as the effects of the dragon keys will still be in effect if you just have them equipped onto your body. So now you can start to slowly farm mods from all kinds of different activities. That way when you actually start to build a serious loadout, you won't be scrambling to farm missing mods, you already should have a solid stash to work with. Now it is time to have a look at companions again, as our little taxon has been with us for a while, but what if I told you there's a companion that can actually double your resources and credit pickups? Yep, it is time to get our hands on a beast companion, specifically the Kubrow. To start, you will need to complete the Howl of the Kubrow quest. You can find it in your codex station under the side quest, or just search for Howl of the Kubrow to get started. This quest will guide you through unlocking the beast companion segment and also reward you with your very own Kubrow. The quest takes you through a survival mission and grants you the incubator segment, which you can install in your orbiter. Then you will have to craft your Kubrow, and for that you will need a Kubrow egg and the incubator power core. You should have gotten the power core by completing the Mars Junction earlier on. Otherwise you can buy the incubator power core blueprint from the market in game for 50,000 credits. The Kubrow eggs will drop during the quest, specifically from the Kubrow dens. Every den you destroy in this mission has a 100% drop chance for the egg to actually drop. So I highly recommend destroying any dens you spot in this mission, as normally Kubrow eggs have a low drop rate, but in this mission you can collect multiple eggs if you actually just go out of your way to find the Kubrow dens. And in the next chapter we will also be using a Kubrow egg, so I highly recommend getting at minimum 2 eggs in this mission. Once you have your egg, head back into the orbiter to craft your companion at the companion station and use the random Kubrow option to craft your companion. The best part is you can actually rush the incubation progress for free, no platinum required the first time around. After that you will have to name your Kubrow, and let me know what you name your Kubrow in the comments. I love to hear that. And to actually complete the mission, you have one final mission where you will have to defend your Kubrow. Once that is done, you have completed the Howl of the Kubrow quest and have unlocked the first beast companion for your Warframe account. Your Kubrow should come with Fetch mod by default. Fetch is a similar mod to Vacuum mod for Sentinel, so it will help you pick up items from a distance. Max out this mod as soon as you can. You can also equip your Kubrow with other mods to enhance its abilities. However, as we don't have mods or the mod capacity right now, you will need to wait until you can add more mods to your companion. Once you have gotten your first beast companion, there are some retriever mods that are a must-have. These mods give you a Kubrow a chance to double resources or credits you pick up. First up is the Loyal Retriever, which gives you a small chance to double any resource or credit you pick up while playing. This mod can be gotten from Master Tesune in Cetus, and you will need animal tags obtained by hunting with the Trank Rifle in the Plains of Eidolon to actually unlock this mod. You must capture one of each of the 4 animals, and for the Vaska, remember it only spawns during nighttime in the Plains of Eidolon. If you have been working on your Austrian standing like we went over in chapter 7 of episode 3, you should already have most if not all of these tags. Next up is the Resourceful Retriever, which gives you a higher chance at doubling any resources, but don't double the credits you pick up. You will be able to get this mod from Sun in the Necrolist in Deimos. To get this, you will need to hunt different animals in the Cambion Drift, which can take a little bit of time, especially without lures. I have a full guide on how to get these mods and animals, so feel free to check that out if you need a more in-depth explanation on how to actually find each of the animals. Then lastly we have the Prosperous Retriever, which is kind of like the Resourceful Retriever, but instead of resources it just focuses on credits. And you will be able to buy this mod from the business in Fortuna, and similar to the Resourceful Retriever, you will just have to farm animal tags, but this time it is in Orpvalis instead. So take out your Trank Rifle and begin hunting for these mods. But getting Loyal Retriever should be fairly easy, while Resourceful Retriever and Prosperous Retriever might take a little bit longer to farm. However, I strongly recommend getting at least one of these on your beast companion, especially early on, as it can make farming resources and credits feel so much smoother. And if you have been following along with your hunting and standing, you should already have most of the tags for the Loyal and Prosperous Retriever. Now once you have unlocked your beast companion, there's something special you can actually do that involves a little bit of an infection on your Warframe's neck. Now if you haven't been infected by a cyst yet, don't worry, you will probably get one at some point just by playing. This infection is actually the key to unlocking the Helminth Charger, a special type of beast companion you can get in this sort of a way. To get the Helminth Charger, you will need a cyst on your Warframe's neck. This will happen naturally if you are infected by another player while playing or playing with a Nidus. And then Then you'll just have to wait a few days for it to actually grow to its maximum size, and then you'll be able to use it for actually making a Helminth Charger companion. And just like in the last chapter, we will have to make this companion with a Kubrow egg and a power core. You should have an extra egg if you did the Howl of the Hero quest and actually destroyed multiple dens to actually get more eggs. As for the incubator power core, you can get the blueprint from the market for 50,000 credits. Once you have gathered all of these, you will have to head to the incubator on your Obiter and then start the Kubrow crafting in the incubator. But instead of choosing the random Kubrow option, you should be able to select the Helminth Drain option at the bottom instead. This will then start the incubation progress, which takes around 2 days to complete. You could rush this for just 15 platinum, which isn't much considered we already covered how to farm platinum in the previous chapter. I'm personally going to rush the incubation for the sake of the video, and here we go. And once that is done, you will then just have to give it a name, and after that you can head into your arsenal and then try to equip it and then just major it for combat, just like we did with the regular Kubrow, but you don't have to do a defend mission for it. And there you have it, your very own Helminth Charger. It is a little bit different than the regular Kubrow and it looks pretty cool. Slowly but surely we are gathering all of the companions and we gotta catch them all right. And before we continue our adventure to Neptune, let's quickly go over most of the frames you could actually farm at this stage in the game, and honestly there is quite a good amount of frames already available. So first up is Hydroid, which can be farmed in the Aura mission on Earth. Each completion of this mission will give you one of the 3 parts to craft him, and the main blueprint can be bought from the marketplace. And in this mission, to make it faster, it is possible to skip all of the stages by running straight for the boss arena to kill Vaheg instead. Next up is Koumei, another early frame that only takes 24 hours to craft, and to farm Koumei, talk to Khonsu on Earth and ask for Saya's Visions dialogue, which will then unlock a defense mission on Earth where you'll be able to farm Fate Pearls in. Koumei's parts and weapons can also drop in this mission, but if you're unlucky you can buy them with Fate Pearls at the Koumei Elder in Cetus, and it will cost you a total of 330 Fate Pearls if none of the parts drops, but that is highly unlikely. Then of course we have Rhino, which we already gone over, but Rhino can be farmed in the Fossa mission on Venus, and the main blueprint is on the marketplace. Next up is Excalibur, which is one of the 3 starting frames, but can also be farmed in the War mission on Mars, and the main blueprint can also be gotten from the market for credits. And on Mars we also have a special frame that can be pretty OP with the right build called Citrine. You can farm Citrine in the Tiana Pass defense mission, where her parts and blueprints can drop, and the crystals you gather in the mission can also be used to buy Citrine's parts at OTAG in the Necrolist, along with some interesting arcanes. Next up we have Mag, which can be found on Phobos in the Elad mission, and the main blueprint is available on the marketplace. Then we have Necros, which we also went over in the last episode. If you want a more in-depth look, check out episode 4, chapter 7 for a more detailed breakdown. Necros can drop from the Magnesidium mission on Deimos, and the main blueprint can be bought from the market for credits. Then we have Valkyria, which is found on Jupiter in the Demisto mission, which main blueprint is also available for credits on the marketplace. Then there's Ember, the famous skin frame. Ember can be farmed on Saturn in the Tethys mission, and the main blueprint is gotten on the market for credits. Also, if you have farmed 225 platinum, you can also grab the special skin for Ember. And now let's talk about some quick and easy frames to acquire, the Dojo frames. If you are in a clan, you can actually buy straight up frames from the Dojo once you have your clan key crafted. All you have to do is head into your Dojo, and in the Tenno lab you will be able to find 5 different frames. Here you can see Banshee, Nesha, Volt, Wukong and Sapir. You will be able to buy all their parts for credits here and craft them in your Obiter. If your Dojo also has it, there's another frame called Dagav, which requires some special farming for resources, but you can buy all her parts here. If I missed any frames you can farm at this point in the game, let me know in the comments and we will take that up at some point. Hopefully this section has broadened your perspective a bit on frames. Even at this point in the game, there's plenty of frames to start farming for, even if we are not even halfway through the star chart yet. And let me know in the comments if you'd like me to go into more details about any of these frames or the resources required to craft them, and we can cover that in a future chapter or on the live streams where I stream here or over on twitch.tv/LatenTipsy, where I live stream the grind and catch up on things in between episodes. The streams are also saved as VODs, so you can follow along in the in-between episode series even if you missed the live stream sessions, so feel free to check those out as well. And with that covered, we should be ready to get back on track. As we make our way towards the Neptune Junction, let's quickly go over the junction goals, and from the homework from last episode we should be done with the quest Natar, which means we only need to defeat Tile Regor and do a mission on Uranus with only our melee weapon equipped. So as we head into the next mission, as it is a spy mission, we can just do a quick melee only run in that mission. Go ahead and de-equip all your weapons except for your melee weapon, and we will be using the dual Kamas. So let's quickly set up a small build so we can actually go through any enemies we might need to kill in this mission. And you can just copy the build as seen here if you want something that should be able to kill enemies on a melee build early on. We will also be going over 3 different vaults and how to clear them quickly, and the main thing to look out for in these vaults is actually a giant cable which will almost always lead you to the vault terminal. For the first vault as seen here, we will have to head left and follow the cable as it leads us to a vent we can go through, and from there we get access to the corridor leading to the vault door while avoiding some lasers and detectors, and this is the first vault. This is one of the more simple and easy ones to do, so let's just head for the next vault. For the second vault, the cable is gonna be a little bit more useful here. Just follow it all along the way. Jump down and take a left turn. Once in the water, you can just follow the cable to the end of the vault, and this will then lead you to the vault door, hack it, and boom, you have completed the vault. Lastly, for the third vault, this one is a little bit more interesting. You will be able to take your time doing it stealthy, but honestly, it is so open you can just jump as fast as you can to the top and hack the vault. I recommend going brute force for this one, while the other options could be stealthy. It's gonna take a little bit more time. And with that, you should be able to complete at least one of the vault, which means the mission will be done successfully and we can continue to the next mission. Now with the spy mission done, we are ready to head to Titania. Don't forget to equip your weapons again, as we will head into a boss battle on Uranus against Regor. With our Rhino and hack build from last episode, this fight should be pretty easy. Once you actually reach Regor in the mission, you'll just have to attack him as much as possible before he phases away. Once that happens, he activates a water phase. While he's gone, you'll have to kill 2 of his shadow ninjas to actually make him reappear again. And once he is back, deal as much damage as you can again, and until another phase of water will start filling the arena. Try to move to a higher ground, and then the 2 ninjas will reappear for round 2. After taking them down, Regor will come back for his final phase, and after that you will have completed the mission. Titania on Uranus is also where you can farm the frame Equinox, and Equinox is a little bit special because you will need to farm both a day set and a night set to actually craft the frame. With Regor defeated, we now have access to the Neptune Junction, so let's go in and kill the Spectre. And I kinda feel bad for Frost in this case, rest in peace Frost. But once the mission is complete, we will gain access to the mission The Second Dream, which will start to answer some of the questions about the story and lore of the game, so definitely look forward to that mission. And now with Neptune unlocked, we have access to the Index mission, which is great for farming credits. We also gain access to the Void area where Yuko can be found. This mission is just like Hebit, where you can farm relics, but instead of Live relics, you will farm Neo and Meso relics in this mission, so keep that in mind when you're looking to get those Neo or Meso relics. As mentioned before, the Index mission on Neptune, called the Index Endurance, is one of the best early ways to gain credits in Warframe. It is pretty simple, but first let's make our way towards both the Void to gain access to Yuko, the relic farm mission, but also the Index. While heading towards the Index, you will probably encounter a spy mission. At this point, these can be pretty hard to complete if you don't speed through it or have a cipher. I highly recommend having a cipher for these missions, so you can brute force the vault with Rhino, and if you can do the hacking minigame quickly, you could still brute force the vault without the cipher. Just shield up, run through everything, hack, and that's how you would do it. Ciphers just makes everything easier without having to worry about the minigame, as it auto completes it. Also, to complete the mission, you will only need to complete one vault. You don't have to do all 3 to actually complete the mission. So if you just complete one and fail the other 2, you will still have completed the mission. Later on, we will also begin working on a spy build, which works with invisibility frames that can just basically run through everything and hack the vault. But now that we have reached the Index, let's go over how to farm credits quickly in the Index Endurance mission. But first, let's go over how Index missions actually work, because this is a special type of mission where you will have to fight another NPC team of enemies, and the goal is to kill each other and take these points to score, and then you will gain Index points. And at the start of the mission, you will have to select your risk investment, which determines how hard the mission will be. Investing 30,000 credits, for example, will give you upon completion 105,000 credits, and likewise for the higher versions as shown here. That means you would be able to put in 50,000 credits and return with 250,000 credits instead. However, you need to keep in mind that if you lose the match, you will also lose your investments, but it is almost impossible to lose against these NPCs. If you lose connection or crash, it is possible to lose the match, however, so just keep that in mind. Also, if the timer runs out but you have more points than the corpus team, you will only get your investment back with no profit, but the timer will slightly increase every time you turn in points. And depending on which version you took, you will either have to score 50, 75 or 100 index points before the timer runs out to earn your credits. Once you then finish a round, you will be given the option to cash out or keep going. Since we're in the early game and this is slightly a beginner guide, we probably want to cash out as soon as we can. Continuing the rounds will only make the enemies stronger, and overall it is pretty much the same as the first wave, but of course it is up to you and your team to do it. So what do we do inside the Index mission, since it is a type of special mission where we will have a few things we need to know about. First is how the mission works fundamentally, as you will spawn in on one of of either 2 different maps, and to force the good map I recommend starting the index mission from the dojo or a public hub. And apparently that actually increases the chances of getting the good open ice tile map. Once you spawn in the mission, you will spawn on either side of the map with your teammates, and if you're not in a full squad, the remaining squad mates will be AI instead. Inside the mission at each side of the map there's a goal or bank where you will deposit the index points, these green little shards that drop when someone dies, and if a person dies with multiple points on them they will drop all of them at once. And your team goal is to score the required amount of points at one of the goal stations. Each index shard you turn in will give you 10 seconds to your clock, and if the enemy scores they will remove 10 seconds from your timer. And when you turn in points you will then be teleported back to your own goal post. And now here's the important part: when you actually turn in points, the more index shards you carry, the more points they will be worth. As seen here, turning in 15 points would be the most efficient, but there is a downside to carrying index shards as they will cause financial stress, which will reduce your energy and health. If you are having trouble getting to 15 points before turning them in, I recommend turning them in at 5 or 10 points for okay efficiency too. And of course, if the timer is running out, just rush points into the goal post to get the most out of the time, as other players might be trying to get a certain amount of points before turning them in for best result. And this takes us to which frame to actually use in the index mission. Since we will be nerfed while carrying index points, you might have guessed it already by now, and you will probably be running Rhino. Because of this debuff doesn't really affect Rhino as he has the Iron Skin ability, which will basically give you an overguard shield which is not affected by these debuffs. So I highly recommend just using Rhino for this early on. There's also other frames that are of course really good to use here, but Rhino is definitely an early game pick. So to quickly summarize how to farm the index, you will have to start the mission from the dojo or hub for better chances of getting the good map. Using a tanky frame like Rhino, I recommend doing this in a public squad also. Then you'll just have to kill enemies and turn in points at 50 index crystals. If too high, you can turn them in at 5 or 10 instead. Then just keep doing this until your team wins, and then cash out to obtain 200,000 credits for a single run. And credit boosters also work here, just saying. And that is how simple it is to farm credits at this stage in the game, and we won't be worrying about that anymore now, as whenever we need credits we can just run an index mission. Now that we are making progress on Neptune, we can begin working towards the Pluto Junction. The wave we have taken, we will have to complete the Psamathe mission, which is the boss fight for Neptune, and drops the part for the frame Loki. But before starting, let's have a look at upgrading all Rhino frame survivability, as this mission has enemies that drain your energy, meaning you could end up with no iron skin, which means you take a lot of damage. So let's head into the arsenal to upgrade Rhino a little bit. We will be equipping the Equilibrium mod and upgrading it to rank 4, so health and energy drops will recover each other. Then we will also be upgrading Vitality, Redirection and Steel Fiber to rank 5, and lastly let's put a few ranks on Flow mod, and so we should have a little bit more energy to play around with. And once done, head inside the mission, and on the way to the boss fight remember to gain a little bit of energy so you can actually use your iron skin before the energy will be drained in the boss fight. In this fight a lot of enemies will spawn in, and 2 hyenas will be jumping around, which are the boss mobs, making them hard to hit. Also with the enemies and the hyenas special abilities, don't stand out in the open, take advantage of the environment so you don't get gunned down. If you need health or energy, run away from the hyenas and kill normal corpus enemies in hopes for energy to redeploy your iron skin. Otherwise you will have 4 revives, so with our current build that should be more than enough to complete the mission, and you should be able to do it a few times if you want to farm the Loki frame part, as each run drops a part for Loki. And now with that we have access to the Pluto Junction, but to do the Pluto Junction we need to complete the quest The Second Dream, which is somewhat of a story quest, so look forward to doing that. The Second Dream will be homework for the next episode as well. So now that we have learned about trading, gotten ourselves some interesting companions, and also gotten a new credit farm for Warframe, it is time to get working on the homework, cause there's some story missions we need to complete to continue this adventure. I will be doing this on my live stream in the in-between episodes live series, which will also be uploaded as VODs if you're interested in having a look at that. And when completing the Second Dream quest you will unlock some new features which we will cover in the next episode. Also, like previous episodes, remember to do some star chart clearing and finishing up the notes on previous planets to work on a progression towards Steel Path, while also working on a bit on your corrupted vaults, gaining some powerful mods for later on. And a little spoiler, we will be getting a pretty good melee weapon next episode, so just look forward to that. But of course the homework from previous episodes still counts, so if you have time remember to finish up your late homework for now. And that's it for the 5th episode of the Beginner Guide series. I hope you found it useful, and if you haven't watched the first few episodes I highly recommend checking them out, as there is tips and tricks that could still be useful even if you're already past this stage in the game. In the next episode we will continue our journey, which will lead us to some interesting things about Warframe and new systems, and we will begin working our way towards the main story of Warframe. And if you have any questions, feel free free to leave a comment, and if you want more Warframe tips, don't forget to like and subscribe for future content and check out my other videos for more guides and tips. We also do live streams here and on Twitch now, and we're currently working on the in-between episode series where I work on progress between the episodes of the beginner guide series, so feel free to watch that on either YouTube or Twitch when I go live. There's also the Discord server, so feel free to hop in there and become part of the community and get notified when we are live. Stay tuned, stay tipsy, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.